Welcome to the show podcast. I'm Manny Gomez. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MannyGo3. CT, female birds.
What's up? Follow me on Twitter at Hovamojo. Follow me on Instagram, Louis Gomez _11. That's _11.
A man with many names.
Yeah, I might catch another one before the end of the season.
Catch another one. It's like
might catch another name.
It's like a STD or something.
Nice.
All right, CT. So just to let everybody know, today we're going to talk about several things. We have a long list of things to talk about. You are listening to this on Wednesday. Usually you listen to this on Tuesday. So, of course, things piled up. First, we're going to talk about Mike Trout and the massive deal that he just signed. Then we're going to talk about Carlos Santana and something that happened in the Philadelphia Phillies clubhouse last season. We're going to touch on the MLB rule changes, Jeff Samardzija, and if there's time, I have an idea about Craig Kimbrell and Dallas Keuchel. Before that, though, remember that on Thursday we have Dr. Dale of Athletic Training Systems. I was supposed to release that episode last week. I don't know what happened. I do know what happened. I forgot to release it.
It's all right, man. It's all right.
But it'll be here this Thursday. So my apologies to Dr. Dale. It was a great interview, and check it out this Thursday. Yeah. So let's move on to the first topic, CT. Today was insane over here at headquarters because Mike Trout and the Los Angeles Angels came to terms on a 12-year, $430 million deal. The deal includes a full no-trade clause and no opt-outs. So it looks like Trout's going to be in LA for life. I need your reaction, CT. How do you feel about this move?
My initial reaction for the whole thing was I immediately thought about the whole him going to the Phillies, which I thought was just like a match made in heaven type of thing. You know, he's definitely rooted for Philly growing up since he's an Eagles fan and goes to all the games and stuff. And I had that like vision in my brain of that happening, and that's clearly never going to happen now. But that's the first thing that came to mind when I saw that he got extended. And I'm a little bit torn in between whether I like it or not. I do like it. It's guaranteed Mike Trout baseball for the next decade and more. But there's some things that I kind of don't like about it. It's me kind of just being picky, but you can go ahead. And what was your reaction with the whole thing?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think that this is like 100% of Mike Trout, like exactly what you would expect a guy like Mike Trout to do, which is to stay in one team for the rest of his career. That'll be cool to see, so I'm happy about that. But it would have been nice to see him go to a team that, you know, that seems serious about contending in the future. I don't know how good the Angels are going to be over the next few years. Like they're locked into Mike Trout and Albert Pujols to the tune of like $65 million for the next 3 years. You know, how are they going to improve their team? You know what I mean? And then by that point, Mike Trout will be 30, 31 years old. I can't imagine that he's going to be playing at this level, you know what I'm saying, for the entirety of those 12 years. So it's almost like, I don't know, like I want to see this guy get a World Series. I want to see this guy in postseason play more often. And I don't think that's going to happen as much in LA anymore.
Yeah, and another thing too, like they extended Mike Trout great. They have the best player in baseball by not as a big gap as we thought a couple years ago, because we like to think Mookie Betts is like another Mike Trout and stuff, but they got the best player in baseball. But what exactly are they going to do now? I mean, they had him for cheap in the whole beginning part of his career, and they didn't really do anything. They went to the playoffs once, lost in the first round, you know, so
Sweat.
I agree with you that I don't think they're going to really do anything, but maybe Ohtani is the difference in all this. You know,
Maybe.
he stays healthy a whole year. Maybe they compete. Then again, they're in the same division as the Astros, and you know, I don't see that team going away in the next 3 years.
I think the A's are going to be, you know, they're still going to be around this year too. They have a really good team.
No, the A's do have a good team. I'm not going to lie, but I have an opinion about a team like the A's. They don't really spend money, so they're gonna, that's gonna hurt them one of these days.
Yeah.
But let me tell you what I kind of don't like about the deal. It just feels like the Angels paid him more annual salary than what the highest annual baseball player gets. I botched that whole sentence up. Let me repeat. Basically, you got Zach Greinke making $34 million a year. Now Trout is making what, $35 million a year?
Almost 36, yeah, like 35.8
okay,
or something.
To me, it just kind of seems like, and again, this is just a bigger issue because like I feel like baseball wants us to buy into the WAR stat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that stat could go to hell. I could care less about that stat, honestly. They want to tell us that because of the WAR stat, what was the number? Each win is worth $8 million or something.
Something like that.
Something like that. I don't know. I don't like the WAR stat. I feel like it's just a way for baseball to tell us what we should think is the best talent in baseball. Basically, just like draw a line. If you're on this end of the WAR, you're good. If you're not, you're bad. Whatever. That sucks to me. But yeah, it just feels like they took. I think Trout could have gotten more in free agency. Then again, he would have been older. I think he could have gotten more. Just seems like they wanted to make him obviously the highest paid baseball player in the history of the game, but not because of like total earnings, just yearly,
Yeah.
Just seems like they just won up Zach Greinke, and that's about it.
Yeah, and I agree. I think Trout could have commanded more in free agency had he elected to test, free agency in 2 years. But like I said before, I think that's why this is such a Mike Trout move because I personally think that Mike Trout is far above the rest of Major League Baseball, and I think that Mookie Betts came close to him last year, but I think even Mookie Betts isn't close to Mike Trout's status. Not yet.
Not yet. You're right.
But yeah, I think Mike Trout could have commanded even $600 million out in the market. And given, how much we thought that teams weren't going to spend money and give years, I think that there might have been a team out there. I think the Yankees might have gone after somebody like Trout. Like a name like that, who wouldn't? I think any team, the Dodgers, the Cubs, any of these these big market teams that are always in it, I think would have, driven his price up. But that's Mike Trout, man. I don't know.
I like it. Like it's crazy if he would have turned that down. But Bryce Harper got, what was the deal that he got from the Dodgers? Like $45 million a year, something crazy. It would have been an interesting. A part of me kind of wishes I could have witnessed what a Mike Trout in the free agency market would have been like. What kind of deals we would have seen, where he could have ended up, the scenarios and stuff. Basically, we're not going to get any of that. Yeah. We're not going to get any of that with Nolan Arenado either.
Well, had this been another sport, had this been the NBA or even the NFL, like I know that Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. I can't believe those words just came out of my mouth, but it's the truth. We just have to accept that at this point. And I know that he takes less money to play for the Patriots so that they can field a good team around him. So that's an exception. Aside from someone like a Tom Brady, I don't know if Tom Brady's the best athlete in football.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
No.
But had this been any other sport, the NBA or the NFL or even the NHL for that matter, I think somebody like Mike Trout would have 100% tested the waters and gotten, went out and tried to get the biggest deal that he possibly could. But I think this is a symptom of Major League Baseball. And I think that I wouldn't be surprised when Mookie Betts becomes a free agent or, that the Boston Red Sox do the same with Mookie and Mookie takes less to stay with the Red Sox. I think that something like that is totally possible. And I would say the same thing for Aaron Judge too. I just think this is how Major League Baseball is. You know what I mean? It's one of those sports.
I can totally see Mookie testing the free agency market.
I hope he does. I hope Judge does. You know what I mean? But
Judge, I think might take the extension, and I hope it's a good extension too because he deserves it. It's because of his age, and basically that's it, and it sucks. But that's the point that I always try to make with baseball. Like they're under control for 6 years, and again, Judge is gonna make money in. How many years till he hits arbitration?
He has a while. 4 more years. He still has like
4 more years.
4 or 5 years.
It's crazy. He's gonna make a lot of money at that point, but he's a professional baseball player, man. He's like he's the face of the Yankees. It means something else. I think he deserves the ridiculous contract, because that's his career. That's what he's a pro at. He's the best at what he does. He's one of the best at what he does. I think that in any other career besides professional sports, you will just keep getting more money as the older you get, the more improvements you make, the more you accomplish, you earn more money. It's not always like that for these athletes, but again, we're talking about millionaires. I get it.
Yeah, and I think that it takes a personality like I think the last person in baseball to, you're gonna hate this because he's your favorite player, to kind of to view it as a business and try to maximize his dollars was Alex Rodriguez. You know what I mean? Like, he could have very well not opted out of his contract, after that 2007 season, but he was still the best player in baseball, and he knew I could go out there and make even more money, and he did. Yeah. He broke his own record in terms of contract. So, but I think that, I don't know, I can't think of a player in baseball, maybe Bryce Harper, but even Bryce Harper surprised me with what he took from the Philadelphia Phillies, considering what he could have made had he explored other options. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, Harper could have definitely taken that Dodgers deal and been a free agent in 3 or 4 years and signed a new 6-year deal, and that's basically a 10-year deal altogether with more money. So I don't know. Sometimes
instead we find out that he's looking for a place to settle down with his family for the rest of his career, like things that you don't expect a guy like Bryce Harper to say. We find out that he's Mormon. Not that means anything, but I thought that was surprising. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I was just like, here's this guy, like this Brady Bunch character. All of a sudden, I thought this guy was like a player, a mover, a hustler. You know what I mean? But he's not. He's just a guy trying to find a place to settle into with $330 million. But crazy.
Yeah, and you said I might not like it because you're mentioning A-Rod. I'll take any excuse to mention A-Rod on this podcast, so bring him up again.
By the way, CT, I have a number for you. Do you know how much money in total for those 4 top Arenado wasn't a free agent, or Trout. Those 4 contracts that were given out this year, each of them was a record-breaking contract when they came out. Machado, then Arenado, then Harper, and now Trout. Do you know how much in total those 4 players got combined?
1.3 billion.
Damn, what the hell, man? Did you just add that up right now or something?
Okay, I don't remember what Arenado got to the number. Was it 280?
260.
I just figured. No, I don't know to the very number. I know Harper 330, Machado 300. I don't remember what Arenado got, but I was like, let me just assume that he got more than 250 or whatever. And then Trout's new one, I'm like, it has to be over $1 billion. So I kind of just put the 0.3 in there. I don't know.
That's a pretty good
just
guess.
A random moment.
$1.32 billion with a B.
$1.32 billion. But you know what?
On 4 players.
Some people, that's crazy. Some people might look at it as like, oh, what's all this, frustration with players not getting paid. But we're looking at 4 players compared to guys like Gio Gonzalez had to get what did he sign, a $3 million deal? Was that Adam Jones? Signed a $3 million
Gio
minor
Gonzalez
league deal?
got $3 million, a minor league deal, and I don't think it's guaranteed. I think that he has to make the team by like April 10th or 20th or something like that.
Wow. You see, like, Gio Gonzalez helped the Brewers, compete in the playoffs last year. Mm-hmm. And, I'm just, like, there's a lot of money in baseball. And, yeah, we had record-breaking contracts, but there's, like, the 90th percentile of players that are struggling to, find jobs and get paid what they're worth. So I still think there's a big problem in baseball. Like, I don't think we should overlook how Dallas Keuchel is still not signed or Craig Kimbrell is still not signed,
I agree. And Carlos Gonzalez got why did I say it that way? Carlos Gonzalez, yeah, right? Cargo got a similar deal to Gio Gonzalez. One of those, he gets a base salary, but the team could cut him if he doesn't make the team by a certain point, and it's incentive laden, so he can make more money if he meets certain requirements. So baseball's definitely like this offseason was definitely very, very strange because of what you said. These two guys are still out there for the taking, but by the same token, I didn't think we would ever see another 10-year deal again. And here we are. We have three guys got 10 or more years. Machado got 10, Harper got 13, and Trout just got 12. So I'm confused, but I guess I was pleasantly surprised to see that some teams are willing to spend the money. But I don't know. I don't know how good this is going to be for Trout moving forward. I don't think that if he sees postseason play, well, he's going to see postseason play in the future, obviously. If he sees the World Series within these next, I'm going to say 5 to 6, maybe 5 to 7 prime years that he has left, I'll be shocked. I don't think he's going to see a World Series.
Yeah, I just put into perspective how hard it is to get to the World Series, right? Like, but this is why I always go back and say, and we're probably going to talk about this for another topic on this episode, but this is why I always go back and think, like, and I'm going to use the Yankees as an example. A team like the Yankees that has the assets to trade away and has the talent of a young core and has money to spend, how difficult it is to just get to the World Series and win it all, which is what the whole thing is about. If you're a Yankee, right? Mm-hmm. Why not give yourself that? Why not go get Dallas Keuchel? And by the way, Dallas Keuchel, he got 34 starts last year. That's the most starts he's ever made in his career. So I know he's 30, but I'll take a pitcher, a former Cy Young Award winner, with a sub-4 ERA like Keuchel had last year and made 34 starts. I'll take that.
Yeah, I would too. And like we said last week, the Yankees, you lose one starter and you see how weak your rotation really is. Because with Gio Gonzalez in this rotation, if everybody's healthy, Gio Gonzalez is your fifth starter. And some might look at that and say, wow, like that's a pretty good fifth starter, right? And you still have CC Sabathia on the back end, the sixth starter, so to speak. But as soon as you lose one of those guys, suddenly Masahiro Tanaka is your number 2 starter. Suddenly Gio Gonzalez is your number 4 and CC is your number 5, and your rotation doesn't look as good as you thought it did. And none of these guys, except for Gio, by the way, have ever gotten to 200 innings. And CC, but CC hasn't done it in 6 or 7 years. So you have a lot of guys on that rotation that don't have the stamina, and Gio does. So I think it's a good move, and Keuchel does too. But I don't think Keuchel at this point. I'm starting to see Keuchel maybe going to, I don't even know, like the Braves could use a starter.
My God, yeah, the Braves. Like I saw the other day their starting day, because their ace is injured to start the season, so their starting pitcher for opening day is Julio Teheran. Yeah, I like him, but you're telling me you can't use Dallas Keuchel? Like,
yeah, Foltynewicz is out, and so is Kevin Gausman. So you have Teheran and a whole bunch of nobodies on the back end of that rotation. Like,
and with the Yankees, like, I think Brian Cashman knows that the bullpen is so stacked that they can afford to not have that every week fifth pitcher, let's say, whatever. But I still think you're gonna lose out towards the end of the season. Like these relief pitchers, they have a limit. They're eventually gonna hit a point where they just aren't as flawless going into a game, and that's usually when a bullpen, it's not just one guy that starts doing bad. It's like the bullpen as a whole starts to lose it a little bit. Not that they'll if they can just get past it, but I feel like every team goes through it in the season. So I don't know.
Cray. So that's the first topic. That's Mike Trout, 12 years, $430 million. He's going to be an angel for the rest of his life. Poor guy. All right, let's move on to the second topic. So, video games. I haven't played video games in I don't know how long. I know that you play MLB The Show. We recently talked about this, and you're thinking about hanging up the old remote control.
Yeah, I'm definitely not getting that game this year. So
wow,
yeah,
it's okay.
But
man.
Go ahead, man. Finish your statement.
So Carlos Santana, who was with the Philadelphia Phillies last year, was reported to have smashed the television in late September in the Phillies clubhouse after some players were playing Fortnite during games. Apparently, this happened after a 9-game losing streak. Before the 9-game losing streak had started, the team was above 500 and in a playoff race. By the time the 9-game losing streak was over, they were well below 500. They fell to third place in the division, and of course, we know the Phillies didn't make it to the postseason. Seems like Fortnite is becoming a problem in baseball. Like last year, I don't know if you remember last year, David Price missed a start, and it was because of carpal tunnel, and it was rumored that maybe he was playing too much Fortnite. You know, I know that the Minnesota Twins last year hosted a Fort Day or something like that. I forget what it's called, where they had like a pitcher from their team play Fortnite on the big jumbotron, and crowd, like there was actually people there to watch. What else happened? Just in December, Blake Snell held a Fortnite tournament with other players in Las Vegas. Like Fortnite is kind of taking over Major League Baseball. Now we're hearing that the Blue Jays are implementing a curfew on Fortnite. First of all, what the hell? Like, what is it about this game? Like, what? Why are people playing this so much that it's starting to become a problem in baseball?
It's a fun game, first of all, and it's a so. Just to give you a little background, you got your sports games, you got your, first person shooter games, you got your story games where you gotta, go through a whole arc of stories and you're doing missions and stuff. So Fortnite, I think, started out as one type of game where it's completely different from what it is now. But there's a style of game called Battle Royale, which is basically 100 people in a gigantic map, and every minute and a half or so there's a storm that starts closing in from the outside. So it's basically a battle royale. Everybody's eliminating each other until there's one guy left. So there was battle royale games before Fortnite, but when Fortnite added battle royale to their game, it just blew up where it became global. And they weren't the first ones to make that type of game, but they just happened to do it right, I guess. They did all the right things. The game's free, by the way. That's the craziest thing. It's a free game. They make all their money off skins, which is like just shirts and pants and, stuff that you put on your character. And that's basically it in a nutshell. It's a very popular game. And it just so happens guys like Blake Snell are really competitive in it. I know there's basketball players like Ben Simmons and Karl Anthony Towns. I think they play another version. They play like there's a bunch of different battle royale games. Currently, I play Call of Duty's battle royale version. I kind of hate it, but I still play it. I'm kind of like on it. Mm-hmm. Good for Carlos Santana, because I remember when the Phillies, we were talking about the Phillies winning the division, and then out of nowhere, I think they ended up in third place or something.
Yeah, man. And
so,
I was doing some research on this because I don't play video games, and I don't really know what this Fortnite is. Like the other day, my sister sent a text message asking if it was in our cousin's chat on WhatsApp, and she asked if somebody has a Galaxy S10, because you can only get this skin on a Galaxy S10 for Fortnite. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And so she tells me that her son, plays Fortnite and whatever. Anyway, so the point of the matter is, so I started doing some research on it, and I found that like 70% of people that play Fortnite play this game for at least 6 hours a day. 6 hours a day, CT. Yeah. Like, that's insane, man. So I can't imagine, that you get ready for a baseball game, you play the game, and then you sit somewhere for 6 hours and play Fortnite. Like,
and then you gotta think that we don't know if they were playing for 6 hours. The only problem I would have had with the whole Fortnite MLB thing is if they're doing it before the game or during the game. After the game, It's your time. Do whatever the hell you want. If Carlos Santana broke that TV because they had just lost a game and 2 players immediately ran to the TV to play Fortnite, I could see why that's annoying. And
during
I could
during a
understand.
9-game losing streak where your team was in the playoff hunt and you dropped out of it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be on board with that. I do have a problem with that, but seeing players play Fortnite on the jumbotron in the Twin Stadium, was it? I think you said. I thought that was pretty cool. You know.
Yeah, I think that is cool. I think that's a cool way to draw fans in and to tap into another community, like the gamer community.
Yeah,
that's great. Like, you want to host a Twitch event or something at your stadiums and use the big ass jumbotron and invite fans to come play with you and stuff like that. That's amazing. I think you should definitely do that. But I don't want to find out tomorrow that Dellin Betances, I know it's a shoulder injury, but Dellin Betances just got hurt. Another Yankee injury, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway,
yeah.
I would be pissed off if I were to find out tomorrow that Dellin Betances hurt himself because he was sitting in front of a fucking TV for 6 hours playing a stupid video game. Like, I don't know. That would piss me off. You can't tell people what to do, when they're not at work. So I understand that. But I would be kind of annoyed at that. You know what I'm saying? And Carlos Santana, I would totally understand why that would piss him off. He felt like so this is what he said. He said, I see a couple of players. I don't want to say names. They play video games during the game.
Yeah, that's bad right there.
That's insane. We come and lose too many games, and I feel like they weren't worried about it. Weren't respecting their teammates or coaches or the staff or the front office. It's not my personality. So I totally get that. But then Gabe Kapler comes back and says, our clubhouse chemistry was great when we were winning. When we were losing and fading out of the playoff race, everyone was frustrated and searching for answers. This is common in my experience. It's common for you to drop out of a playoff hunt and your players are just, instead of like being pissed or holding a team meeting or something, your players are going and playing video games during games. That sounds crazy to me. It just doesn't seem like, I don't know. I don't get it.
I would have definitely, if I was the manager of the Phillies, it would have never gotten to a point where someone had to break a TV because of Fortnite. I would have just gotten rid of all that stuff myself.
Why does it take Carlos Santana to take it upon his own hands to deal with this issue? I don't know. There's something about Gabe Kapler that isn't sitting right with me. Everything that's coming out with what happened in his time in LA, and now this story doesn't help. And I think that collapse that the Phillies had last year, if Gabe Kapler doesn't turn this team around this year, especially given the amount of talent that's been put in this team with David Robertson, with Bryce Harper, with Andrew McCutchen, with Gene Segura, with all these players, if the Phillies happen to have a below average season this year, I would think that Gabe Kapler's gone, man.
Wow.
Just me.
Poor Carlos Santana, man, because he's like a veteran at this point.
I love that dude, man.
He was a part of Cleveland. They were going to the playoffs, so I'm dying over here. Is that why Philly traded him?
Something tells me that it has something to do with it. I do know that they wanted to move Rhys Hoskins back to first base because he was a terrible outfielder. Wow. Believe it or not, Rhys Hoskins and Bryce Harper were the worst outfielders defensively last season. If you look at every defensive measure, you look at defensive rating, UZR, DRS, all that stuff, they were the 2 worst outfielders. So they wanted to move Rhys Hoskins back to first. Of course, that opened up a spot for Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper said the other day that he doesn't want to play center field because that's why he was so bad last year. I guess I understand that.
Also, these defensive metrics came because he was playing center a lot.
Right.
I don't even remember Bryce Harper playing center field last year. And you know what's crazy? I don't know what to believe anymore at all, because when I watch Bryce Harper, whether it's through highlights, real game, or anything, I feel like just because he's always hustling and he's always, focused, I do feel like he's a solid defender. Not a great one, but I've always said that he was solid because he hustles. Now, I don't know what to believe anymore, man. I'm lost.
He had a tough time in right field too last year, but wasn't he dealing with some sort of injuries? I don't want to make excuses for the guy. I think for his career, he's been a decent outfielder. Last year, he had a really bad year.
I've always thought he was, like, for example, if I had to choose between an outfielder, now athletically, Stanton beats almost every Major League Baseball player.
Mm-hmm.
Like full athletic ability. Giancarlo Stanton is probably one of the most physically gifted baseball players ever. But in terms of like who can play the position better, I would have probably said Bryce Harper can play outfield better than Stanton. Now I can't just speak about stuff that I think I know. Now I got to really do research. This is crazy.
I bet that for their careers, when all is said and done, when all is said and done, I think you'll be right. I think that Harper is probably better than Stanton defensively. I think that was just 1 year. You know what I mean? So that's what happened with Carlos Santana. They wanted to open up first base for Rhys Hoskins, and he's back with the Cleveland Indians. So he was good. He was good with that team. I've always liked Carlos Santana. He's an on-base machine. He's a good first baseman, and this makes me like him even more because, that's what you need. That like. Fuck this whole veteran leadership shit. You went on a rant on it last year. If you guys want to listen to it, go back on the archives.
Wherever that episode is.
But this is the definition of veteran leadership. Like where you take shit into your own hands and you say like, nah, man, this isn't going to happen in my clubhouse. Like, no way. You know what I mean? Not this whole other bullshit that we're dealing with. We're back.
Noise.
All right. CT, here's the next one for you. Busy day, man. So Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Players Association announced that there's going to be some new rules being implemented over the next 2 seasons. So I'm going to go over the list real quick. And then I don't know. If you want to have a discussion about it, I'm cool with it. But there's one in particular that I want to really talk about because I think it'll be fun. Mm-hmm. So here's what they are. So the first one is less time between innings. I like it. Get the game going. We don't need all these commercial breaks, blah, blah, blah.
I like it.
The next one is the 3-batter minimum. A relief pitcher will have to face 3 batters before he's removed unless there's some sort of injury or if he's put in like to face the last batter of the game in the 9th inning, then the rule doesn't apply. But generally for the rest of the game, 3-batter minimum. I don't know how I feel about that. We could talk about that if you want.
Yeah.
I don't know. The next one is roster expansion. So I believe this is in 2020. Teams will be allowed to have 26 players on their roster instead of 25. And then usually when they do that September call-up and you can have 40 people in your roster, now that number is only goes up to 28. I like that move, personally. We don't have to talk about that. The next one is no position players pitching outside of extra innings or score margins of 7+ runs. So you know how they put in like,
yeah,
they'll put in like the right fielder or whatever if the game's getting out of hand or in extra innings. Teams won't be allowed to do that anymore. That one I also don't know how I feel about because say you're entering the 19th inning and you're running out of relievers, like what are you going to do? You're going to keep abusing your pitcher and just keep letting him go out there? You know what I mean? Like what if he's what if he's dealing with an injury? I don't know. But the last one, and this is the one I really wanted to talk about because I thought it would be a fun conversation. Maybe not. Who knows? Is that starting this year, the Home Run Derby will include a $1 million prize for the winner. So I think in years past, it used to be like 10, I don't want to make this up, 100 grand or something. It wasn't that much.
Yeah.
By baseball standards. Now it's $1 million, and it's to incentivize players to join. So this is what I wanted to ask you, and I didn't prepare you for this, so we might struggle with this one a little bit. Who would you want to see play? Who do you think this would entice to play in the Home Run Derby? Like, who would you want to see play for this?
If because of the $1 million prize, Aaron Judge, because he's only making like $600,000 this year. You know, that would have been a good one. Any of those rookies like Franmil Reyes, which is supposed to be like this otherworldly power type of hitter, that'd be nice. I'm talking guys that haven't signed the big contract yet. But then again, I still would like to see Bryce Harper. I still would like to see Mike Trout one day. Man. Can't even. I saw a bomb today on MLB. Some prospect. I didn't catch his name, but it was cleared everything.
I'd like to see Giancarlo Stanton. I mean,
yeah, oh, definitely.
$1 million is nothing to these guys, though. You know what I mean?
Well, like I almost don't understand. Like, okay, I could use $1 million, definitely.
Yeah.
But I almost don't understand, like, why just 1 million for the home run derby prize? You know, it's almost like they're gonna give it away to charity anyways. Right. Probably. Right. Unless you're Aaron Judge, but I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know, man. I actually don't understand the whole thing with the 1 million. 10 million would have been cool, you know?
Yeah.
That's asking for a lot, though.
And I don't know where this money comes. If it comes from Major League Baseball, I mean, the teams have it. Everybody, they have the money. You're right. They should give them. But then by the same token, like if you win the World Series, I don't think you make $10 million. You know what I mean? And that's a bigger deal than the home run derby. But the home run derby, for me, I find the home run derby to be the best all-star event in any sport. Like, I think it's better than the dunk contest. I think it's better than the skills competition and the three-point contest. I don't know if they do anything in football because nobody even watches the Pro Bowl or whatever. I don't know what they do in hockey either, but I think it's by far the best, and it'll never get old because, it doesn't matter how many home runs you watch. Like, they all have there's a difference to all of them. Like some of them fly out faster than others. Some of them go out further. Like, that guy hit it oppo in this direction, hit that one, this one, whatever. In basketball, there's only so many dunks, and you watch these guys try these dunks like 15 times and miss them the first 14, and you're just like, this is so stupid. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
No, man, I totally agree with you. I think the All-Star game, baseball's All-Star game is the best All-Star game in all the sports, and I do think the home run derby is the best as well. But yeah, I don't know what the $1 million incentive is really going to change. I feel like there's players out there that are going to want to do it, and there's just players out there that aren't going to do it no matter what. I kind of wish Aaron Judge would do it. That would make sense with the whole incentive thing because he doesn't make what other players make.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And as far as the other rules go, real quick, I kind of don't know how I feel about the 3-batter minimum rule.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I'm okay with it. And I think I said this before when we were talking about rule changes from last season, what might happen this season. I think I'm cool with these rule changes as long as when it comes to playoffs, just put it back to normal. Like, I want to see the best possible matchup for that moment. If it means bringing in Chris Sale to face Bryce Harper for that one batter, then I'm okay with that. I don't care how long it takes to switch pitchers in and out for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Regular season, you want to do it, whatever, I guess. But not for the playoffs. Don't start messing with the game like this.
Yeah.
Don't put a pitch clock in the playoffs.
It sounds like, for me, it almost sounds like the pitch clock is not going to happen, and I don't know if they're going to ban the shift either. It seems like that's not being talked about as much. But I agree with you. The 3-batter minimum, I understand why they want to do that. Like, you have guys like Joe Madden and Gabe Kapler last year. They would switch pitchers. Like, it was almost too much.
Yeah.
And yeah, it would cut down on that, but by the same token, I don't like rules that put teams at a disadvantage either. And I think that this puts teams at a disadvantage. Like you said, like I might have, I might be facing Mookie Betts followed by JD Martinez followed by Xander Bogaerts or whatever, and I want to get my matchups ready. If it's the 9th inning and I don't want Dellin Betances to face off of Mookie Betts because he owns him or whatever, I want to be able to make that switch. You're putting me at a disadvantage. You know what I mean? I don't like that part of it. As far as roster expansion and less time between innings and those two in particular, I'm okay with those rules. Other than that, like, don't mess with the game. Even like with banning the shift, like, don't ban the shift because again, you're imposing rules that's putting a team at a disadvantage. And what should happen is that the players should figure out ways to beat the shift. And that's it. Like, the shift has been around forever. There's another piece that I wrote on Call to the Pen. Ted Williams was shifted on in the 1940s, like, all the time. And how did he, and he was still the best hitter in the world. Still to this day, the greatest hitter of all time. Why? Because he figured out ways to beat the shift. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't need Major League Baseball to go and tell teams don't shift against Ted Williams. Like, what is that? That doesn't make any sense. That's not the game. You know what I mean?
And I see both sides of it. I wouldn't want them to ban anything that's been going on in baseball for the longest already, because I feel like then we'll never be able to really kind of, like sometimes I think back to what baseball fields used to look like, how they were deeper in almost every ballpark, and then you get kind of like, you start questioning things like, well, what's really changed? Yeah, we have these beast athletes today, but there was guys back then hitting further home runs because they had to. I don't know. You just start questioning everything. Kind of this whole thing with like banning the shift and moving the plate 2 feet back. I get it, because for the common, and I'm talking about common baseball fan, there's nothing better than seeing offense. There's nothing better than seeing hits, home runs, and all that stuff. All these rule changes are going to, help offenses. But now I just feel like we're just making excuses for these guys because striking out so much. It's like, all right, like, what else can we do for you? We're going to ban the shift. We're going to move the thing 2 feet back. We're going to make you face the pitcher that you favor in a matchup because he has to pitch to you now. Like, how many, like, I don't know. It'll work out in the long run because we'll just see more offense. We'll be more entertained. Maybe not us, because we like baseball regardless. They'll gather more views probably doing it, but I'm not a fan of all these things now.
Yeah, and
I feel like we're just making excuses now. Like,
yeah, another shameless plug, another piece that I read. I don't remember the title. I've been writing so much stuff for that site. I was going to use another word, but I don't think that baseball has. The more I think about this, and the more that I do embrace rule changes, because sometimes I do think that they make the game better. Sometimes, not all the time. I don't think that the rules, after looking at some numbers, I don't know if you know this, but in 2018, the average baseball game was like 3 hours and 4 minutes or something like that. Do you know how long the average NFL game was?
3:30.
It was less than that. It was 3 hours and 12 minutes. It was longer than baseball. Okay. And not only that, somebody from the Wall Street Journal did a study on how much action is actually happening in football games, because, the clock still runs during commercial breaks and stuff like that. Do you know how much action time takes place in football? You're going to be surprised. I mean, I was shocked by this number.
In the 3 hours and 12 minutes on average, how much action is going on in football? I would say like maybe a little less than an hour.
11 minutes, CT.
Wow.
11 minutes of action.
After they made, and this takes into account like all the rule changes that they recently made to better offenses and stuff.
Yes, like we're talking like the quarterback snapped the ball and there was some action on the field. There was 11 minutes of that. Yeah. Other than that, it's all running out the clock. It's
3 and outs.
Exactly. So punting, I don't know if they consider that action. I guess that punting is action. Maybe a field goal. I don't know. Anyway, 11 minutes of action, and I had said this to you guys on that group chat a couple of days ago. If you ever go to a live football game, in my opinion, there's nothing more boring than a live football game, because you don't experience, when you're watching it on TV, they're cutting to commercial, they go to another game, they say, look at this drive by this other team, this, and that. So there's always something constantly happening. Yeah. But when you're there live and in person, you really get to experience how little things happen during a football game. There's a lot of downtime. So the point that I'm trying to make is, I don't think that the problem with baseball is the pace of the game. It's been the same for as long as I could remember. It's been generally around 3 hours per game. I think the problem with baseball, and we've talked about this in the past, is marketing. You know what I mean? I think that these players don't market themselves well enough, and I think it's because Major League Baseball doesn't allow them to. Yeah. I compared 2 players. I compared Bryce Harper and Blake Griffin, who I think Bryce Harper, compared to Blake Griffin for their individual sports, is a much bigger star than Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin has something like 3 or 4 million followers on Instagram. Bryce Harper has like 1.5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One baseball player appeared on ESPN's Fame 100 list, where they look at Google searches, and they made a list of the top 100 athletes. Only one baseball player appeared on that list. It was Bryce Harper at number 98. Last year, nobody appeared on that list. That's the problem with baseball, is that people aren't talking about baseball players. You know what I mean? Did you see Bryce Harper slide into home yesterday, and he started flaunting. Did you see this guy with the bat flip? Did you see this? That people don't talk about it. That's the problem.
No,
and I think that the way to get people to talk about it is, Gary Vee mentioned this in that podcast that I keep mentioning. Let people share the content freely. Like, let them put it out there. Let people talk shit about it. Do what Alex Bregman is doing on his YouTube channel and interacting with fans and showing up at kids' Little League games to play with their kids. Do what Trevor Bauer is doing with Momentum. You know what I mean? Like, be there. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I follow Aaron Judge on Instagram. I never see him post anything on Instagram. It's insane. Like, I mean, I don't know.
It's true though. Like, let people share it, and let people, at the very worst case scenario, they're pissed off about it. You got all these football and basketball fans saying like, "Why am I seeing all this baseball on my feed?" But maybe they'll see something that sets off maybe they see something they like. I didn't really notice how much I liked the other sports until I started learning about kind of like the history of what's going on in that series. You see LeBron James playing his 8th straight finals. That's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows what the hell's going on in baseball. I don't think people realize that the Astros, the Yankees, or what the Red Sox did last year, these are 3 of the best teams in baseball for, not just that one year and they're done. They're good for multiple years. It's like, even when baseball does do stuff like they'll see a bat flip from Bryce Harper, you get what makes the media is people up in arms about how mad they are that people are doing that, because that's not baseball. So it's like, even that though, I'll take it. If they start letting people share stuff freely, I'll take it, because it's going to help generate views for the game. People will tune in.
Right.
What was the other idea that he had where we're going to go directly to the player that we want to see if they're doing something at that moment, like taking BP or taking in that bat, So I totally agree with everything.
Let the player tell you. Like, I noticed that in my last game, I was swinging too early, or I wasn't extending my hips enough, or this and that. Like, let the players interact with you. And to the point that you made about how when like Bryce Harper has a bat flip, like the conversation becomes, oh, was he showing up the pitcher or the other team, instead of like, holy shit, that was a big moment. Like.
And you know what?
I would be just as pumped up. And here's the other thing, CT. I'm gonna, we're, as I read on our Instagram page in our bio, we're 2, guys with Latin roots who talk about baseball in Spanish, right? We love the fact of the matter is that we love baseball because there's a whole bunch of guys on that field that look like us, that are Dominican or whatever. And if you go to a game in the Dominican Republic, it's not like here in the U.S. where you're just sitting around drinking a beer and it's quiet as fuck. Like they're dancing, they're making noise, it's loud. People are interacting in the game. That's what needs to happen in baseball too. Is we need to start bringing some of that in. Like, I don't know, like in these Japan games. If you guys happen to get up at 4 a.m. to watch, the Mariners take on the A's, I think it's tomorrow, the first game, or Thursday. I don't remember. You'll see that it's loud nonstop. They're chanting stuff throughout the game. Not a seat is empty in the stadium. Like, that's what we need to see, man. We need to see people like interacting with the game and interacting with the players. That's
yeah.
I don't know. I'm passionate about this, man. I feel like throwing something.
I never believed, and they can show me numbers and everything, but I never believed that the pace of play was ever a problem. Mm-hmm. I feel like baseball's only gotten better. And there is a statistic out there that proves that there's just less contact being made. And you could even look, I think last year was the first,
more strikeouts than hits, yeah.
More strikeouts than hits, yeah. But you know what though? Stop striking out. Stop trying to hit so many home runs. Let guys like Stanton and Judge hit home runs. Javi Baez, I don't care if you hit 34 home runs. You're kind of like a second. All right, Javi Baez is great. Don't get me wrong. But he could do better than getting on base. 326 is what he did last year, getting on base like that. You know what I'm saying? He's like a little guy. He's quick. I don't know. I feel like everybody's going for the home runs, which is causing more strikeouts, which is causing less contact. Like, let's stop making excuses for these players. They can switch it up. Not everybody has to be a 30 home run hitter in a season. You know, we have home run sluggers, we have contact hitters, whatever. But yeah, I never believed that the pace of play was like a problem in baseball. I never believed that. And if you really are a fan of more than one sport, there's just something about baseball in the playoffs that doesn't compare to any other sport.
No.
Just like others, you know, it's just
agree.
there's something about the no time limit, the product of baseball in the playoffs is just, and I'm pretty sure playoff games are just as long or if not longer than regular season games. So
Probably
yeah,
longer.
I never believed that pace of play was like a real issue. I almost would have gone to believe that it was just a whole conspiracy thing where they're just making us think that baseball is getting boring so they don't have to pay these players as much. I don't know, man. That's me getting way ahead of myself.
Holy
shit,
that is some conspiracy theory.
They're expanding rosters now so they can afford to bench players longer, to pay them less. And
wow, man.
Come on, Manny.
That's, I mean, you
It's
had
all about
had
money.
me for a while, but you lost me at that one conspiracy theory at the end. I'll take it though,
Well,
man.
does it? Well, you tell me, if baseball just keeps making more money year after year, yet they're telling us that we're losing fans and that it's getting boring and the sport's gonna die out, and then they're coming out with all these stats like to prove what a player's really worth, man. I just think it's just another way to pay these players less.
If you look at a Gallup poll that came out recently, the NBA has surpassed baseball in popularity, and soccer is like right behind baseball. So something has to change soon if baseball wants to remain relevant. Otherwise, we're gonna be the next soccer in the United States. And I know that that's a sin when it comes to the world, because soccer is the number one sport in the world. But in the U.S., baseball used to be king, and now it's falling apart. And like I said, going back to that point that I made about guys like us, Latino, people who watch the game because it's relatable to you. You grew up with it like we did. We're at some point in the very near future, Latinos are going to be the majority of the population in the United States of America, and you're missing out on an opportunity to appeal to those fans from Venezuela, from DR, from Puerto Rico, from Cuba. Those are millions of people out there that love the game of baseball, and you're not doing much aside from taking their players, which, I like, to appeal to them. Like, there's no comparison to a game in DR in terms of the experience as a game here. Like, the talent level is way better here, but in terms of experience, it's much better in a foreign country, I think.
Like that, like the experience
itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a long segment, and we're going to continue for a while because it kind of relates to this next thing. So Jeff Samardzija, in terms of rule changes, Jeff Samardzija doesn't like any of the rule changes. Instead, he has his own little idea. His idea is to end extra innings, to implement ties in baseball, and to use a point system. So this is the way that it would work. So if a game goes 9 innings and it ends in a tie, then both teams would get 1 point in the standings. If a team wins a game, that team gets 3 points in the standings. I don't remember how much the loser gets. Maybe 1 point. I have no idea, or no points, I guess.
Maybe no points. I guess it really doesn't matter as long as you get more for a tie and more for a win.
Yeah.
Right.
And so what would happen if? So this guy from CBS Sports, I'm like struggling to explain this. This guy from CBS Sports broke it down, and he found that if they had implemented a system like this last year, the American League standings would have been exactly the same. Wow. In the National League side, though, the wild card game would have been Dodgers at Cubs instead of Rockies at Cubs, and then the NLDS between the Braves and the Dodgers would have been the Braves and the Rockies. And it's because I believe the Rockies and the Dodgers ended in a tie, but the Dodgers won the tiebreaker game. I think that's why it changes up. But I think that's how it happened.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go on too long of a rant about this, but let me just say this: Jeff Samardzija, however the hell you say his name, he's trash. By the way, don't ever draft him in your fantasy league. You will be disappointed if you draft him. That's number one. And number two, if anybody ever comes up to you and says, "Hey, they should put ties in baseball," just tell them to go.
Go ahead, man.
No, I'm not doing it. But that's the dumbest thing ever. Why would we add ties to baseball? Like, it's when did people start complaining so much about stuff? Just watch the game or play the game and shut up. Like, come on. Every year it's a complaint about something new. Like we're gonna start complaining about how players don't like to play in the sun anymore soon. Watch, it's gonna be like a thing where we're gonna start drafting players from Antarctica, and they're gonna be like, oh yeah, like I'd rather play for a dome stadium or something. I don't know, man. What a dumbass idea.
There's nothing I hate more in any sport than a tie. I think it's the dumbest thing in the world. It makes like the whole, like an average baseball game is 3 hours and 4 minutes. Like I said before, it makes the whole 3 hours and 4 minutes pointless. Like I just played that whole thing to not have a decision at the end. And for me, the best system in sports in terms of when it comes to dealing with a tie is in baseball, and I think it's in basketball too, because it's fair. There's no why, because it doesn't end in a tie. Like, and because you're playing until one team wins. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to continue until somebody reigns victorious. In the NBA, you got another 5 minutes, and whoever's winning at the end of those 5 minutes wins the game. That's how it should be. In baseball, you play the top of the inning and the bottom of the inning. Whoever ends up winning wins. In football, now, the best sport, according to a lot of people in the United States, the NFL, for me, has the dumbest freaking system that I've ever seen in my entire life. It doesn't make any sense. And I don't want to resort to some shit like that. And not only that, not only does their overtime system suck, if you don't fucking take the lead, you can end in a goddamn tie. It's so stupid. I hate it. I don't like it. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, let me just say that in the NFL, when games do it in a tie, yeah, it's frustrating. Like, nobody likes to see it. But at the same time, man, these animals are out there running for
I don't care, man. You play until the game is over, man. I don't give a fuck. And if it comes to it, if you play a whole quarter and nobody's taking the lead, then start fucking doing a kickoff or some shit. You don't want these guys to die on the field because they're playing for 7 consecutive hours. Then get your kickers out there and start at the 20-yard line and kick, and whoever fucking misses first loses the game or something. I don't know, but you can't end the game in a tie. You can't do this bullshit that if you get the ball first in overtime and you score a touchdown first, that you win the game. That shit doesn't make any sense, man. That's this is where I'm a purist in baseball. Don't fuck with extra innings, man. Like, some of the most memorable games come in extra innings. You know what I mean? Like,
seriously, and whatever they want to. I'll never be on board with adding the second base runner after 12 innings or whatever the hell that thing is. But I'll tell you right now, like, I don't know what I'd do if I ever saw them add a tie system to baseball or point system. Like, come on, get out of here.
Nah,
get lost.
Save that shit for hockey.
Yeah, and I have my own opinions about the NFL overtime stuff. I'm a little bit split on how they currently do it, but I kind of get why some games end up in a tie because the human body gets dehydrated and muscles aren't built to.
No. Then save it for a later date or something. Like
put a bookmark in it and meet up that next morning and just have at it.
Or like save it for a later date. Like, okay, at the end of overtime, nobody was able to take the lead. So, okay, we're gonna save it here, and we're gonna revisit this game at the end of the season if it's necessary for you to make a postseason play. Now, if you're not in the postseason, then fuck it. You don't need to finish the game. End it in a tie. I get it, but nah, man, no. No thanks.
Yeah, I just can't believe that. Like, there's 1,000 players in the Major League Baseball system, or I just threw that random number out there. I'm assuming there's more than 1,000. Obviously, there's
way more than
30-something teams. Yeah, okay, but yeah, whatever. 1,000's a big number. There's 1,000 baseball players out there professionally getting paid to play. Like, I just can't believe that he actually suggested that. It just makes me really question, like, what the hell he's about.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, when I first heard it, I said to myself, this is stupid. Then I read that article by the guy on CBS Sports. I think his name is Mike Exissa or something. I don't know. If I messed up his name, I'm sorry. And I was like, holy shit, it would actually kind of work. But no, I'm not. No.
Yeah. And
No,
real
thank
quick, that's like, you know how there was that old saying, there's no crying in baseball and stuff. It's like, it's just one of those things that separates. It's like you said, it separates baseball from the other sports. We shouldn't be trying to change this shit. Like, just embrace it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like that there is no time limit in baseball. I like that. It's a game where it's just, I'm gonna give you my best pitch. You're gonna try to hit it, and that's it. Like, now we're trying to just, I don't know, it's just complaining about so much crap these days, man. Like, I don't know what the hell to even think anymore.
Like I said, I think for me, the problem in baseball is not the pace of play. It's marketing, and it's how accessible you're making yourself to the fan. And in baseball, you know, the seats are getting more expensive. You know, something like the Yes Network, you have to have a specific, you know, cable package to watch the games. You have to pay for MLB.TV. I get that. That's, you know, that's their own private thing. I understand. You're not, you know, you go after guys like Brent Porcio of Top Velocity for using their likeness or whatever the fuck they call it. That shit doesn't help baseball, man. It helps you to get your content out there, and it helps you to get fans in the seats to watch the games. Like the Orioles last year sucked. So what they did was they allowed kids to go in for free. Like that's perfect, man. Like that's what they should do in Citi Field. Like get kids in that ballpark and let them sit up close and see the action. Like, but a lot of these teams, it's about the bottom line, and at the end of the day, they're making money, and until they stop making money, they're going to continue doing what they're doing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, CT. So I kind of want to end it here, but I want to throw out this idea that I had about Craig Kimbrell and Dallas Keuchel.
Okay.
So both players were given. Holy shit! I'm drawing a blank. What's that thing that you call it where they offer them
like qualifying offer?
There you go. They were offered a qualifying offer during the season, and they both declined it. And what happens in baseball when you receive a qualifying offer and you decline it is that if you elect to go to free agency, if a team signs you, that team loses a draft pick and it goes to the team that you just left. Mm-hmm. So if Craig Kimbrell goes to, let's say, the Philadelphia Phillies, the Phillies will then lose a draft pick, and the Boston Red Sox would get one in return. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so here's the idea. Kimbrell and Keuchel, maybe what their strategy should be now that it's getting so close to the start of the season and they're not going to be ready for opening day, and whoever's going to sign them is a team that thinks it has a chance to compete for a World Series. So that team will theoretically still be in competition later on in the season, right? Yep. So maybe these two players should say, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to not sign with anybody until the June amateur draft. At that point, my qualifying offer deal is off the table. My team isn't going to lose. My previous team isn't going to lose a draft. My current team isn't going to lose a draft pick or whatever. So, and draft picks now are like gold in baseball. What do you think about that?
To be honest with you, I hadn't really ever looked into that whole they get picks because of the player and all that stuff. It's it's one of those very stupid rules in base. I hate the rule. There's like what's that? This rule is retarded. I don't want to use that word. This word is dumb. It's really dumb. Yeah. No, I get you. You know what? It could work. Obviously, you just explained it, but I kind of don't want to admit that a guy like Dallas Keuchel will have to hold out, or Kimbrel will have to hold out till June. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to see these guys signed. I don't want these guys to just have to wait. I don't know. I don't either. The way I see it is the Houston Astros, you know, hopefully for the Yankees' sake, come June, maybe they're not as good as they thought they were. And Dallas Keuchel is still out there. They don't want to lose a draft pick. So they say to Dallas Keuchel, we want to sign you to a deal, but it has to be after this date. Keuchel kind of has leverage because he can say, all right, you need me for your team to compete. I'm not going to sign unless you give me
what I want. He could theoretically get more money, and two, the Houston Nationals won't lose that draft pick that they're afraid of losing. Because I think at this point, I don't know. I'm grasping at straws here. I don't know what it is that teams are thinking that they're not going after these guys. I don't know if it's the players think that they're worth more than they actually are. Like, is Keuchel asking for 10 years or something and Kimbrel, or is it that the teams are just cheap as hell? I have no idea. I don't know what the hell's going on.
First of all, I think you're right. It would give leverage to the player that's still holding out in June, because it happens every year. There's a contending team that loses a key player for a month or more. So I think you're right. It does give Kimbrel and Keuchel, the K brothers, some leverage. I agree. But, and I lost my train of thought there because all I have in the back of my head is my dad yelling in the other room.
Nice. Hey, Ma!
What was I saying?
The meatloaf! Fuck!
Yeah, it's like you're right. It would give them leverage. I can't believe I lost my train of thought. I had a really good point to make, and I'm over here just sitting in my dark room. Wow.
It's all good. It's all good. All right. Before we sign off, I have one more thing. Not something that we need to talk about for a long time, but Ichiro Suzuki is gonna start in Japan.
Let's go.
Yeah, man. I see. This is one of those things where, like, this doesn't happen in any other sport. Like, once LeBron James fades off into the sunset, he's not gonna. Michael Jordan did it, but he's not gonna make a comeback at 45 years old. For the Cleveland Cavaliers or whatever. You know what I mean? This kind of stuff only happens in baseball, and Ichiro's having a horrible spring, but he's going to his homeland. They're there already, and he's starting with the team that he started with in Major League Baseball. And I just hope that after the series is over that he officially announces his retirement and he walks off into the sunset, because this is the perfect ending for a guy like Ichiro Suzuki. And I just wanted to kind of acknowledge that and bring that up here. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I kind of hope he does it in Japan, right?
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Yeah,
you're right. You don't really see these things in other sports, because the other two major sports would risk let's say Tom Brady wants to take a snap at 50. Well, if that D line gets some pressure, if I was. God.
Or LeBron James is wide open and he gets the pass and he goes up for a dunk and
yeah, it doesn't come back down the right way.
It doesn't come back down the right
way. I kind of hope whoever is pitching to Ichiro, this is like against baseball, but just groove one down the middle.
Just
man.
Give him one. Yeah, I agree. He's not gonna crank one over the wall. I mean, he might.
He might.
But chances are it's probably gonna be a single, and it'll be like the best moment. Like, in some ways, I'm kind of happy that we live in the East Coast, because I believe that these games are going to start at like 5:30 in the morning for us. So I'm going to try to make an effort to watch it. And the only reason is because of Ichiro Suzuki. And I don't know why, because he's been playing. It's not like it's not like he went away and he's coming. He went away briefly last year, but I kind of want to see him one last time. And yeah, man, he's one of those players that he burst into the scenes and he was just good right off the gate. And, one of those special players. You'll never see a player like Ichiro Suzuki again. I don't think.
No. Yeah, you're right. That's the beauty of sports, that when you're a great player, you really don't compare to anyone in history. You're kind of your own thing.
And that's the thing. That's exactly right about Ichiro Suzuki. It's not that he was a great player with like the flashy home run numbers, or that he led his team to a World Series or anything like that. It's that he had like this talent, this one specific talent, skill or whatever you want to call it, that only a few players in baseball have ever been able to do. And then Pete Rose and Tony Gwynn, of course, are the only two other players that I can think of. But he did it on a completely different level. Like, it almost felt like if he wanted to place the ball in one specific place, that he could do that. You know what I mean? He was just like a phenomenal hitter. And it's just the way he hit the ball, the way his batting stance, his,
great fielder too.
Everything, man. So
yeah,
Yep, I thought it would be good to acknowledge that for a second. Ichiro Suzuki came to the big leagues at 27 years old, and he hit 200, had 200 or more hits, I believe 10 times, 10 consecutive seasons. He won a Gold Glove in each of his first 10 seasons too, I believe. All-Star game in his first 10 seasons. Only the second player in Major League Baseball history to win MVP and Rookie of the Year in the same year. He has the hits record at 262. He hit 372 in 2004. I mean, first ballot Hall of Famer. He should be one of these guys that gets in unanimously too.
Hell yeah.
And if you add up his hits in Japan, he's the hit king by like over almost 200 hits. So
wow. And I would have never guessed that he'd still be playing.
45 years old, man.
Once I started seeing the decline, which we're, closing in on a decade ago.
Yeah.
He's still great though.
He is.
Yeah, I did not expect him to still be playing. When I heard that he signed a minor league deal, I was like, Jesus Christ, man. And then I realized, they're playing in Japan. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, I hope that he, that last game, he gets a standing O. He goes out there. They do something dramatic. Like, I don't know. The Yankees are the only team I could think of that have done something like that, like something orchestrated. Like when they went out and got Mariano Rivera in his last game, when Jeter and Andy Pettitte went out and got him. Yeah. I hope they do something similar for Ichiro. I know it's getting too sentimental and it might get corny and shit, but it would be nice to see, I think.
Yeah. Hopefully. I hope Ken Griffey comes out of nowhere and just takes an at bat or something.
I know he's in Seattle too. I know he's in Japan too.
He's in Japan. Yeah, I saw him today. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, maybe he'll be out. Maybe he'll take BP or sit in the bench. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, CT. This was our first, hour plus show of the year, man.
Worth it.
Way worth it. But I'm gonna sign off now because I'm tired. Oh, no. But before that, here's what else you need to know in the world of baseball. Aaron Hicks, Luis Severino, CC Sabathia, and Dylan Betances are all starting the season on the injured list. And add Estevan Florial to the list, too. Gio Gonzalez and the Yankees have agreed on a $3 million deal like we talked about earlier today. Angel Hernandez, the world's most famous, most popular, greatest umpire of all time. Kidding. Tosses out AJ Hinch in a spring training game. And AJ Hinch accused him of I guess, saying some inappropriate things, which he has reported to Major League Baseball. So it'd be interesting to see what the hell Angel Hernandez is up to now.
Oh my God.
Corey Seager is set to play in opening day for the Dodgers.
Don't draft him.
You're going to draft him?
Don't draft him.
Don't draft him. Well, I did last year, and he got hurt 2 weeks in because of me. And on the same team, Walker Buehler and Clayton Kershaw will not be ready for opening day. So they're struggling with some pitching over in Los Angeles. And let's do the sign off. Welcome to the Show is brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/welcome to the show to get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial. That's audibletrial.com/welcome to the show. And then for more exclusive deals like 10% off of KD Custom Kicks or 10% off of Top Velocity, go to WTTSpod.com/save. That's WTTSpod.com/save. Our music is by VM Varga and Rapturnal music by Naughty Productions. All artwork is by Luigi Gomez. And that's it. Peace out, everybody.
Peace out.